All right, welcome to the Be More podcast, everyone. And today on the show, we've got Steph Affleck, straight off the train from London today. So absolute journey up for you. So welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. I feel like I've travelled far and wide to be here, but I think it's going to be worth it.
It's a big old strange world up north, isn't it?
No, I like it. Everyone's nice. It makes
That's
such
true.
a difference.
Yeah. I always say that because we've got franchises down south.
Yeah.
And it's like every time I go, it feels like I'm in a sort of different country. Almost.
Yeah.
The more north you go, the more open everyone is.
Yeah, and then we're a specific niche in London.
Yeah.
I think we're very similar to like New Yorkers. We are cold to begin with, and then
But I'd be like that if I was walking past millions of people a day. I'd get sick of people.
Yeah, also London is chaos. London is chaos. So like you're like, I can't deal with other people. I'm just trying to deal with what's going on with myself. But no, it's lovely.
Too many like oversensitized to everything
also,
going on.
it was sunny and warmer here than it was in London, which surprised me.
That does make a change.
I know.
Right, so if you don't know who Steph is, ex-semi, well, ex is that the right word to put it? Semi-finalist for The Apprentice, and that was 3 years ago now?
Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago. You pre-record it. People don't realise that it's not like live happening, like week by week. You record it the year before, so you have to keep quiet for like pretty much.
Is it really that long?
Yeah. So we finished recording in the August, and it got put on TV in the January. So it was really weird. Sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent. It was really weird. So we wrapped on August bank holiday and I just did this massive thing and you're sworn to secrecy. And then I had to go home and sit in the pub like with my dad, and I was just looking around going, no one knows that I was literally sat with Lord Sugar and Karen Brady this morning and I'm just like in the pub enjoying a pint.
Was it like a God complex around you as you were doing it?
Yeah, I was like, no one realises the 12 weeks that I've just lived. And then I just had to go back to normal and keep it quiet. And then all my friends were like, where have you been? And I was like,
can't tell you.
Oh yeah, I've been around. But it gets pre-recorded. I think now they do it like a whole year before. They wrap it in like May or April and then it doesn't come out until January. So people have to keep quiet for ages. And if you're someone that loves to blab, that's quite hard.
Yeah. And you've also got your business. So it's, if you want to tell the viewers what the name of it is again.
Yep. So it's Littlest Luxuries and it's a pre-loved marketplace for luxury children's wear.
Awesome. And did you start this up before The Apprentice, or was this after, just to get everyone understanding the timelines?
So actually, I started a business within this industry with a slightly different business model before, but that business had only existed for like weeks before I went on The Apprentice and decided to go for it. So I must have really had the gift of the gab to get as far as I did.
Is it like an app or a website? Is it both?
Yeah, so now it's a website. Hopefully we'll turn it into an app in the future. But it works very much similarly to like Vinted or Depop or Vestiaire Collective is what some people are familiar with if they buy and sell luxury. And you just go on there, list your stuff and people buy it. And we just take a small commission of that.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll start with some quick fire questions first. So have a quick round of that and then we'll dive in. Karen or Tim, Steph?
Tim. Karen is a scary lady. Like, she is amazing. She is so admirable. But it's so funny because everyone's like, oh my God, are you terrified to go into the boardroom because of Lord Sugar? I'm like, no, everyone's terrified of Karen. People aren't terrified of Lord Sugar. But Tim is an absolute babe.
She doesn't come across like that on
Do you know what it is? I think she has to remain objective to the situation. And so there's only so much that she's going to connect with you on because she needs to objectively judge it. So if she connects with you too much, then she might be like, oh, I'm kind of favouring that person.
Yeah.
And so she just has this like ballsy energy about her. Like when Karen enters a room, like
big dick energy.
And I love that for her. Yeah. But being up against it, especially when you've done something wrong, is quite terrifying.
Did you speak? After it had all been done, like, did you get to know her properly, or did you?
Well, no, Tim. I went to Stormzy with Tim's wife and his daughter.
Really?
Yeah, I really wanted to go. And then he was like, "Oh, I've got a box. Do you want to go? And I was like, "Absolutely." His whole family are an absolute vibe. So yeah, I think that's probably why I liked him as well.
Yeah.
When I went on it, Tim was in his first year, and so he probably hadn't learnt that he probably does need to have that boundary. Yeah. And so he was lovely with all the contestants. He would have lunch with the camera crew, with all of us, and so I just feel like I connected with him a lot more. Yeah. If I did something wrong,
it's probably actually quite hard to be like. I believe that most people are connected, but they put like a front on.
Yes.
Like it must be actually difficult to put that character on, to be fair.
I think it depends who you are. Like I love connecting with people and I love kind of like digging in deep. So like for me to try and create a boundary is really hard. But then I also get why people want to do that. It depends what they want from them. If you need to remain objective in a business sense, then it probably is good to have that boundary. But if you're just friends, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Fair. Right. Second question. So would you prefer startup chaos for a new business?
Yeah.
Or like corporate like stability? Like what gets you more excited out of them two?
Do you know what? For me, it's startup chaos always, because I think I am chaos. But I think with that whole startup v corporate thing, I do find that whole conversation quite annoying, because I think we have sensationalized startup so much, and it is actually exactly what you just said, chaos. And I don't think there's anything wrong in craving stability or corporate life. And so I think some people are now embarrassed to be like, oh, I just work a 9 to 5. And I'm like, that's to be rated. It's just kind of what you're wanting from it. I am a chaotic person. So that whole doing the same thing every day, which I've done, by the way, and I did it for many years, I find mundane, and I'm like,
so, did you have a corporate background then before you started your business?
Well, yeah. So I worked in events before that.
Right.
I started off in luxury events, and I worked for a company called Caprice Holdings, and then I moved into large scale life sciences events. And so what I used to do is operationally put them together in the UK and then go and deliver them in the US.
Yeah.
And they were like thousands of people. But the issue that I had is that COVID happened. And so not only could you not go to a different country, large scale events like didn't exist.
Yeah.
So my whole career kind of disappeared.
They were probably like most hit before COVID though.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
Sorry, during COVID.
Yeah, 100%.
We had a few clients like who had small events companies and they all went under.
Yeah, it's such a shame. And I got made redundant. And I had the business idea anyway. It was kind of weird how it happened, because I had the business idea in my head for a year. And I don't know why I said to myself, by the time I'm 30, I will start this business. I got made redundant just before I'd actually gone on to The Apprentice. And then I thought to myself, well, if not now, when? I'm never going to have more time. So it kind of pushed for me to do that. And then because I started the business, I then was able to go on The Apprentice. So it's weird how things work out like that.
What was the deciding moment made you go, I'm doing this?
Because I didn't want to go back to corporate life. That's when I realised. I realised when you used to have like management one-to-ones, don't you? Like every quarter. And I remember sitting in with my manager and she was like, where do you want to be in the company? And this was like a few weeks before all of this happened. And in my head, I wanted to answer, I don't want to be
here.
Yeah, no, literally.
I don't want to be
I was like,
company.
in my head, I want to say, I don't want to be anyone's role in this company. Like even the head of my department, I was like, you're not my end goal. So then I was like, what am I doing here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it depends whether you're someone that can be easily
It goes
led.
past the money and the income, doesn't it, eventually? I think.
Yeah, it does, because you're like, this isn't. And I was quite like, where I was in events anyway, it wasn't like I was leaving. I get when people find it harder. If it's a job and you're earning 300k a year, I would get why it's a harder decision. But I was on like 35k. So I was like, I could go and make that my and be a lot happier.
Yeah. Good for you. So we'll come more on to that part of the journey soon, but we've got a few more questions. So if you could pick one, so tomorrow when you wake up, if you had an endless amount of money to spend for 2 hours, would you go and do it shopping in person on the high street or online?
I would do it in person.
Yeah.
I would do it in person. I know I own an online store, but I love the in-person experience. It's funny because I think we've gone full circle. I think everything went really, really, really online, and now everything's going back to community. And you see it with like marketing strategies for brands, especially like consumer-facing brands. A lot of them are community-led events and stuff because people want to connect with people. And so I think I love the online experience for convenience, but you can't beat that whole experience that you get in store with the person that's helping you and buying it and actually being able to try it on, sort of thing. Yeah. I could definitely spend a lot of money in 2 hours though.
Yeah, it's making it like an exclusive feel for it as well when you're doing it. Yeah. I completely hate it.
Well, in person, you're more online.
I can't stand it.
Is that because it's convenient? Though I think men and women are different though.
Because
women could shop for like weeks.
I can go in if I need to get a suit. I know exactly where I need to go. I've already seen it's on stock online. I go into like it might be some trainers or trackies. Like I've got a very good idea what I want. I'm in and out as quick as possible.
But I'll be like, well, I want to go and get this dress, but I just want to have a look at their shoes, sort of thing. That's how a woman thinks. So I'm like, I like to explore. That in person gives you that opportunity. Yeah, I think we're wired a bit different. We so I can't relate to that one. Yeah.
Right, so power suit or casual chick?
It depends on the occasion. Like,
if it was your choice and you could be free spirit Steph, what would you do each day?
Oh, I don't know, because I am a glam girl. I love to dress up as much as I like to look like a tramp as well. It's funny because my persona is that I always look like this, but actually 80% of the time I'm in sweats.
Yeah.
So I probably would say chill versus glam, but I do like a little bit of a glam for an occasion.
Yeah, good answer. So, last one. So,
Mm-hmm.
might relate to your business a bit. So, would you prefer like sustainable products for your clothes or recyclable? Or non-reusable stuff?
What do you mean by that?
So, like the materials and things like that.
Well, nowadays
If you're buying for you, because obviously the shops you can go to and get recycled sort of like materials.
Well, I'm big on materials, if I'm honest with you, and I really do look into material composition when I'm buying stuff. So I would go for the first. I would go for recycled materials versus that, because a lot of people, by the way, you're still buying high quality products and 75% of it's polyester, which is not great.
No, it's not. But you don't see it, do you?
No, and also unless you're educated, I think people would do better if they know better. And I still think there's a lot of education around that. Like, and it's not even your fast fashion brands. There's some mid-luxury and even high luxury brands, and they're like charging thousands of pounds. And then you look at the material composition, you're like, this is like 80% plastic. Like,
it's got a logo on it.
Yeah. And they're charging it. It's like Dolce & Gabbana.
You're paying
but
for the
people are
status,
buying
aren't
it.
you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's the importance of a powerful brand, I suppose.
Yep, it is.
Right. So, Apprentice, let's start there. So,
go for it.
I won't go all the way back to being a kid. What sort of like? Talk me through like 18 onwards. Like from 18, getting onto the Apprentice. Quick overview. Like, what did that look like for you?
Well, 18 was 10 years before I went on The Apprentice.
Yeah.
And I think if I went on, I don't think I would have even got on, if I'm honest, at 18 years old. When I was 18, I was actually at drama school when I was 18 years old. And it took me a while to even figure out what I wanted to do. And my 18 to 25s was that for me. So that was all a little bit messy. I went and worked for different companies. And then I realized that I wanted to work for myself about 25 or 26. Then I founded my company at 27, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. And then went on The Apprentice at 28, really.
So when did you leave the corporate? 26, 27?
So I left in COVID. So what 2020, I'm trying to do the math here. How old was I in 2020? What is that, 5 years ago? And I'm 31 now. So I wasn't
trying to lead you to tell everyone.
Yeah, I know. Everyone, why is this so focused on my age?
Timelines.
Jesus. Yeah. Tell me everything about every age you've ever had. I'm like, okay. So what was that? What's 4 minus? No, we're in 2025 now, aren't we? So yeah, I was like 26, 27 when I left corporate world. Probably 6 years too long, if I'm honest, for me. But yeah, and then.
So how did you land on The Apprentice? Like, what happened from there?
Well, funny story. So I wanted to start this business. This is a very unique way of trying to find capital. And when I wanted to start this business, I didn't have the knowledge that I do now about how to get investment. Like, we know there's many different avenues now, and it's not as hard and as unreachable as I thought it was. And so I Googled, like, how do I get money for my business on the internet?
You find out there's actually like people gagging to give you money.
Yeah,
if you've
honestly,
got a good product.
yeah. Like angels are looking to give it away. But I Googled that and The Apprentice came up. And I was like, well, why don't I just
There's like
apply?
less good businesses than you think.
Yeah, but I was like, why don't I apply for The Apprentice then?
Yeah.
Like, see, I need that amount of cash because I wanted to do a tech business.
Get the exposure.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it's not going to not benefit me. So I was like, the chance of me getting on are slim, but like, I might as well try. Applied for it and just kept proceeding through the auditions. And I think I went with that such a blasé attitude, which I think made me really confident because I wasn't hanging my whole life on it. It was just like, oh, well, I'm going to try it sort of thing. Went all the way through and then got on. And then came third, so it did really well for me. What was
your like top lessons you learned from that? Did that set you up to win
anything
else as you came out? Or?
Yeah, the top lesson I probably learned was that unwavering self-confidence, because technically throughout that whole audition process and even on the show, there was people that had so much more experience than I did, were in business for like 5 to 10 years. And on paper, they should have gone further than I did. But I had so much confidence in myself and what I was trying to sell, and I never backed down from that I think it got me so much further than I probably even thought would be able to. And that's what, going from that afterwards and having that constant self-confidence, I honestly, truly believe it can get you so much further.
What do you think got you through to the semi-final?
I think a mix of both of that. It's funny because when you record that show, there's a lot that you don't see. And so for an audience member, sometimes they don't have the context of like, why did she make it to the final or something? Because you'll see like our worst parts.
Yeah, they put the stuff in that makes you want to watch it.
Well, yeah. And I had like the last 3 episodes before I made it to the interviews were really, really bad episodes for me. I pretty much messed up.
Did they try and make you look stupid on the TV? Like,
yeah,
on the
they do. Yeah, 100%. They set it up completely for that. Like they do. I feel like it's a bit archaic now to do that, but they absolutely love it, and they make it such hard work for it to be successful. But the last 3 tasks, I was the culprit and the fault as to why all of them failed. So I then had to go in and convince as to why
did that bit fail?
Why it wasn't me. And I was like, well, actually, it was me, but this is what I can bring to the forecourt anyway. So you should ignore all of that and concentrate on that. And I think I was a really good saleswoman on selling myself, but also throughout the series, which wasn't really aired, I was top salesman for the whole series. So he was like, whether she's failed or she's won, she was still selling the most. So if she can sell these things that she has no idea about, she can probably sell her own business that she actually does know about pretty well. And I think that's probably why. And also, I do think Lord Sugar, we really connected. He's an East London lad, so I kind of get it. I'm from South East London. My family, my granddad's from like Bermondsey, so we had that same sort of attitude. And so the way that I would converse and connect with him, I think that really helped as well. So yeah, I think it was a multitude of different factors, to be honest.
So what happened from then leaving the semi-finals to then, so you're already kind of in that industry, and then you went on to set up Littlest Luxuries, right? And then, so what was the transition to that? How did that then happen?
Well, first of all, when I first left, you're like it's funny because you actually have a bit of paralysis because you're like inundated with opportunity, and opportunity that sometimes can detract you from why you went on there in the first place. And so the first few months, I wasted a lot of time on these things that actually disguise themselves as opportunities that actually were distractions.
Because it can kind of get you a bit of a celeb after that then, really.
I wouldn't say as far as a celeb.
In a business world.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was able to get any meeting I wanted, any interview. I was getting paid to do these things. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great, sort of thing. And sometimes you're like, yeah, great, cash. Like, let's concentrate on this for a while. And it did distract me. And then I was like, no, I need to remember why I went on there and what I actually want to do long-term, sort of thing. And so then when I came back to it, I was still in that of like, right, I need to go and raise capital, or I need to go find a co-founder because I really want to build this, because it's a big tech business. You know, we're trying to compete with giants here. How do I do it? And I spent that whole year on the ground networking, researching, like figuring out how to do that. And I think it's funny because I think people have this disillusion that you've gone on The Apprentice or you must know everything. And I was like, no, I was a rookie on there. I learnt loads on the show, but I went on there with like a really, really early business and I was still hungry after to make that work. And so I had to spend that year really kind of educating myself. Then I found my co-founder. And then we
So how did you guys meet then? So this is your business partner, right?
Yeah. So
you're 50-50, you said,
yeah,
right?
We are 50-50. And so she was in the pre-loved industry as well. So we both had our own kind of respective businesses.
Can you just explain to the listeners what pre-love means?
Yeah.
I had to ask this question to Camilla.
You know what, it's the same as well with circular fashion. I always give definitions for pre-loved and circular fashion because I talk about circular fashion in such a blasé way, but then I forget that the average consumer doesn't actually know what circular fashion means. Like whenever I say, I'm in the circular fashion industry, people are like, what does that even mean? So circularity, I'll start with that one by definition, is the ability to reuse and recycle materials that already exist within our ecosystem. So if you apply that to the fashion industry, the ability to reuse is you're renting, you're upcycling pre-loved. And then if you apply that with the recycling, it's on the design side or the manufacturing or production side, and it's using materials that already exist rather than new. To make products.
Got it, right, okay.
So that's circularity.
I've learned something there.
That's circularity. And I'm in the pre-loved sector of that.
I thought it was like a buzzword for just second-hand clothes.
But it is. And I was just about to say that. Pre-loved is nothing more than second-hand. It just sounds nicer, basically. Yeah. I don't know why. It just sounds nicer than saying second-hand. Although I do feel like the whole opinion of second-hand has really shifted in the last 5 or 10 years.
You just think Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. I think people started using pre-loved because of that. But now secondhand is a lot more common. It doesn't really matter that much, to be honest.
Yeah. So what made you get into pre-loved then over just new products, and like how did that happen?
Well, I think there's a few different reasons why people start businesses or they get into something. I think you either have a pain point with it, so it's something in your life that's an issue that you want to go and figure out. It's something you're passionate about, or you kind of find a gap in the market that you're like, oh, you could make money. And I feel like it started off as the first two. So when I was in my mid-20s, I just got to a point where I didn't want to buy fast fashion items for myself anymore. They were crap, low durability. They didn't last very long. They didn't even look that nice. But at that time, that mid-luxury level that exists now quite vastly didn't really exist. And the second, if I didn't want to buy fast fashion, it was luxury fashion. And I was like 25, 26, and I couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how can I buy higher quality items that aren't the retail price that it currently is? And so that's where I started buying secondhand stuff for myself. So it was solving that issue for myself, first of all. And then as the years went on, we started getting exposed as individuals as to the actual impact of what fast fashion is doing. Like fast fashion is an absolute epidemic. 92 million tons of waste material goes into landfill every single year, and the majority of that is fast fashion. And so I started going, I don't want to
how
buy
much was
into
that,
this.
sorry?
92 million tons.
In the world or UK?
No, in the world. I mean, that'd be
Still a lot,
yeah,
right?
that's still a lot.
Probably the size of the UK.
But 10% of global emissions is all contributed by the fashion industry.
Really?
Yeah. So the fashion industry is very, very pollutive. And so I started to go, oh, this is not good. So it turned from a pain point to actually, no, I'm quite passionate about this. And then
What made you get? When did you realise you were passionate? Why are you so passionate about that?
Because I am an individual that cares about our environment. I know that I don't want to get too preachy on that, but I was like, and this is the way that I can make my mark. Yeah. And then I started thinking to myself,
let's not tell you the listeners about the private jet you just come up from London.
From London to Liverpool. That would be great. That must have been about 5 minutes long. Yeah, and then so it turned into kind of more of a passion project. And I thought to myself, if I'm thinking this way, some others might be. And I was just sure that people would love to know that they can buy secondhand or pre-loved goods at a fraction of the cost and it actually be nicer items than the fast fashion pieces that you get.
Is there any incentives for you as a business owner then from the government or anything for actually having sustainable products?
There are certainly circular initiatives that encourage you to start a business. They're not that easy to access, I'm not going to lie. But there are some that they do to encourage you. But I'm not going to lie, a lot of them are quite vanity projects from the government rather than them really.
Just it makes them look better.
Yeah. Because the thing is, as soon as you attach sustainability to your business, you look great. And it's why a lot of people are eager to always collaborate with you or something, because they're like, oh, we're collaborating with that resale. It makes us, it makes us look great. We're sustainable sort of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like a hype at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
we call it greenwashing. So,
greenwashing.
Yeah, it's called greenwashing.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah. It's a term. There's a lot of brands. I mean, this has gone off of a little bit tangent, but there are a lot of brands that are greenwashing at the moment, and they try and act like they're far. I'm not going to call any out.
Well, my dad's in the plastics industry.
Yes.
And he said, do you know like the bowls you get in like a health food shop?
Yeah.
Sustainable and everything. Yeah. They've got a plastic coat on so that it doesn't sink through and they can't recycle them. So it's a massive scam.
Yeah. But like also they might have 2% of recycled materials in that whole composition, and what they will sell it as a recycled bowl.
And then a plastic lid on top.
Yeah. And so that by definition is what we call greenwashing in the industry.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But there's so many brands doing it now because the way that the industry is going, it doesn't look good now.
I think especially for younger people, they're a bit more like awakened to the
100%.
looking after the planet, aren't they? So especially 100%. I think like younger brands they definitely aim more of that, don't they?
But so like I then became passionate about it, and then I started researching it because I was like, how can I be in this industry? I just wanted to be involved in it. Whether that was in the capacity of just working for someone or owning a business, I actually didn't know. And so I started researching the industry, and what I've started to realise is that a lot of the industry was catered to women's wear, which isn't a surprise because in the fashion industry, women's wear always lead the trends anyway. We're normally the trailblazers to start anything. And I was like, there's only a matter of time for it to trickle down into the different demographics. And I was like, how does this not exist for children's wear when the speed that children grow out of clothes? So I was like, it's the most underserved community, but probably arguably arguably the most important for this industry. And I was like, that's where I'm going to make my mark in this. And so that's why I went into children's wear instead of women's wear, because I already felt the industry was catered for and I was just adding to the noise. I was like, no, I actually want to make a difference.
Got it. So turn that passion in and it gives you more energy then as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can sell it better.
Yeah.
Like the best salespeople are ones that are just super passionate about what they're selling.
Actually believe in what they're selling.
I love it, even if it's something I'm not interested in. If someone's, you can feel the energy that they're so passionate in.
Yeah.
You want to hear about it because of how excited they are for it.
It's always difficult for me though, because I am so passionate about this industry. I literally love it. But when it's sustainability, it's a bit like people with vegans. People start thinking you're getting on your soapbox, and I'm like, I love it.
Do you love the product or being a business owner more? If you had to pick,
I love a bit of both, if I'm honest with you, because I still shop secondhand so avidly myself, and there's nothing I find more pleasurable than when I buy something and I know I've got like 400 quid off of it, sort of thing. Last week I bought a cardigan that retailed.
Feels better when you got a deal.
Yeah, no, but I love a deal as well. Last week there's a cardigan I bought.
Free.
It's just like and also I can always justify the cost because I'm like, I saved it, so technically I haven't spent anything.
Yes, you've spent less than you were going to.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't count. Right?
So I've actually saved. But yeah, like last week I bought a cardigan from a designer brand and it retails at 400 quid. It was brand new with tags and I bought it for £70 off of the secondhand website. So I was like, and I always find stuff like that.
So you're always doing this outside work for yourself?
Yeah. I love it. I rent, I do everything. So I live the product that I sell.
So this business has been going about 2 or 3 years now, right? And what's been the growth on it?
No. So our previous businesses were going for a few years, but we relaunched in September.
Got you. Right,
So we built the tech for probably the past...
Last September?
No, the September that's just gone. So September 24.
So 24. Feels like ages away.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It feels like 2 years ago. It actually does feel like 2 years ago with how much goes on.
Feels like we're on January the 59th today, doesn't it? Still,
I feel like January has been going for the whole year.
It feels like that,
It feels like 12 months in itself. I'm like, how are we still in January? Oh, look, there's another week of January. I'm like, how are we still here? But yeah, so we launched in September. And it is funny though, because September to January, with the amount of stuff that happens when you do launch is crazy. I do feel like we've been in it for absolutely ages.
So have you seen a massive jump in the revenue since the relaunch?
And it's not even that though. It's how to handle such a different business model has been probably a big challenge for us, because before it was like an e-com store essentially. It was like a Shopify. It was very simple. It was straightforward. I'm now technically a tech co-founder rather than a business fashion.
How many staff do you have?
Owner. So it's just me and Lucy do everything at this point.
So it really is the founder point.
It's really on the ground at the moment. Like we're doing everything and anything. It's funny. I did a TikTok the other day because people were like, and it was like, oh, can I speak to customer service? Oh, can I speak to the manager? Oh, can I speak to the... And I'm like,
I'll just transfer you now.
I am literally all of that person. I'm like, I'll just change the name at the bottom of the signature of the email if it makes you feel better. But yeah, it's all me. It's literally all me.
So you got all this going on. So what are your thoughts on like work-life balance? Do you have any right now, or is that a thing that you believe in? Or
I think with work-life balance, it's really hard because I think that whole saying is weird because it's contextual. What work-life balance is for me is different to you. So I'm always apprehensive on giving advice on work-life balance, because me sitting here as a 30-year-old that can be relatively selfish in this era of my life, a mum of 3 watching that is like, I can't dedicate that same amount of time. In startup, it's difficult to have that work-life balance. I think it really is, because you really have to work very hard to make something successful, make people want to buy it and have it consistently successful. So right now I would say work is happening more for me than life, but then that changes and it balances out. But like I said, I am someone that I can work.
It's never going to leave your mind if you're so passionate about it though. Like me being pulled away from the business.
And it's completely up to you to make it successful.
I can't go and sit on a beach somewhere for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Without going, I want to be back.
Yeah.
Like grafting. Yeah, like, that's what I want to be.
Or not open your emails.
Yeah. Like I want to. I want to know what's going on. And I get more anxious by not.
And the thing is, at this stage, if I don't move it, it's not going to move, sort of thing. You know what I mean? We don't have 50 staff there that are, making it operate while I'm away. And so I am having to have my brain on it 24/7 because it's up to me to make it successful. Yeah. Whether it succeeds or fails is relatively up to the founders at this point in time, which is a lot of pressure, but also a lot of fun. It depends how you take it.
What would you say to someone that's like wanting to quit the job to work for themselves to get more time back and wants to start their own business? Do you think that's a good move for them or not?
There's a few different pieces of advice I would give with that. I think the whole giving up your job and going for your dream is a bit sensationalized on the internet, if I'm honest with you. I think people do that because they see it on the internet and, I left my job and I made 6 figures a month, 2 months later. And I think that's a really dangerous thing to do. For me, and I'm a very practical person and logical, what I would actually say to someone is that get a job that gets you by but brings income in for you so that you can live, so that then you can start this business and anything that business is making, you can then reinvest it into the business rather than for you to live, because then your business will grow a lot better by doing that. And so I would actually say...
Yeah, and test things on the side.
Yes.
And then once you start to get momentum, you just get that gut feeling, don't you, when you're ready to do it?
Exactly.
Like, when I left personal training, started my first gym, it was just like felt weird because of what I'd been known for so long.
Yeah.
I was kind of working for myself, but it's just self-employed. But like, I was just pulled. You probably experienced something similar, right?
Yeah.
You just know it's in your soul that you've got.
It's like you said when you said when were you ready to start that business, and it was just like, I don't know. It was just like right now it's the time to take action thing. But I would say to people, if they are looking to start a business, all day long do it, but just be a bit more practical about it and rather than reckless, because if you just leave and you leave yourself with no personal capital, you're going to get yourself in a really sticky situation, and then you might even make rash decisions in that business because you need to get capital quickly.
Emotional decisions.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, no, so I'm like, be careful, be cautious. Get a job that doesn't need much thought, I would say. So don't go for your career. If you leave a career job, get a job to get you by that gets you money, so that then any money you're making on that side hustle, you can reinvest and make it bigger, and that will actually help you to leave that job permanently.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good input. Like we have so many people. We meet multiple people a week that are interested in getting a franchise with us, and the difference with what we have, because it's a proven model. Like, I'm not trying to upsell you, by the way, it's just relevant. But if you do want a franchise, apply below in the link.
I thought this was my podcast.
I know it is. So if any Steph's friends want a franchise, message her. But no, I think we see it all the time that people that come in, they were about to start the own gym up anyway, and literally just quit what they were going to do. And I was like, it's not as glamorous as it looks.
It's far from glamorous.
And honestly, like probably 2 in 10 people we sit with, like we're going to start their own gym or some sort of fitness company without actually having a real plan.
Yeah.
They got the savings or some inheritance money or something, or something they've worked, the whole life. They kind of retired a bit early, got some payout from the pension, and they're going to throw it into a model they don't even know works. And it's just like, no, like phase in or actually do something that you know is going to work. Ultimately.
But also work out your startup costs as well, because people will leave and think, I've got enough capital.
It's always double what you think it's going to be.
It's always double. But like people will go, I've got 10 grand savings, that will do it. Well, no, it depends what industry you're going in and so many different factors. Yeah, 10 grand might be enough for one business, but like 10 grand wouldn't last in mine in a tech business. We'd eat that, for breakfast sort of thing. So it's like you actually need to really think about how much capital you need to leave. And I would always say work out 18 months, because like you said, 18 months will last you probably like a year if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Before making any reckless decisions. And then also...
So what you've done, is it quite cash heavy? Do you need a lot of liquid cash?
It's cash at the start it is. And then when it runs, it's not. But there's a lot that you have to put into it in the start.
Stock and everything.
We're not even... No, because we don't own any stock.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, we don't own any stock.
So
we do... Yeah, it's the tech. It's hiring the tech people to build the platform. So that is so cost intensive.
That's what the startup cost was to get it going, or is that...
Yeah. So the majority of that is that. And then obviously you need marketing, because our platform is so dependent on 2 different customers, the buyer and the seller. We need marketing in order to get those people there, so that whole momentum can
How much
grow.
are you looking just to pay developers to get a basic app in place? Like
it really, so it's so dependent and individual on how you go. So whether you're building an app, whether you're building a website, whether you use a software platform that kind of exists and gives you the bare bones, whether you're doing something personally, honestly, it could cost you anything from 50 to then 500,000. It really depends how much you want to go into it. And like even for us, for example, we've kind of built like an MVP version, which is like minimum viable product for in case people don't know what MVP means.
No, we do.
Not you. I
didn't know what MVP meant.
Minimum. So your minimum viable product is like the leanest, cheapest version of the product that you can bring out to the market to test it, essentially.
Yeah.
So we brought out our MVP to test that, and that still cost us like 50K. But like if you're building a custom platform yourself, you're looking at, and that's when you have to go and get investment, really, because you're probably looking at like
Just
250 onwards.
cash,
and then also you need the tech maintenance sort of thing. That's the only other person that we've really externally
That's what everyone else forget about then, right?
Yeah. And the issue that we have is like, if you want to build like an e-com website and just sell clothes, you can go on Shopify and do that. And you can also maintain that yourself, because Shopify is like no code at all.
Yeah.
If you're building a marketplace software, a lot of it is coding. So when something goes wrong, you can't fix it. So you also you need to factor in the costs of how much that tech person.
Tech people ain't cheap.
Well, I was going to say, I always say to people, if you don't want to start your own business, but you want to always earn a good salary and be in demand, go into tech.
Yeah.
Because no matter where our world
growing.
you're always going to be needed.
Yeah, especially with AI now.
Yeah. Especially they just evolve with it. They evolve with our world. They're always going to be in demand.
So anyone that's sort of coming into the position that you were, leaving a corporate lifestyle and coming in to start their own business, what's one mistake or any bit of advice that you could give to someone looking to go through those steps?
Oh God, there's so much. A few of them are the things that we just said there. And actually, to go back on that MVP, I think that's really important, because a lot of people risk it all without even knowing if anyone actually even cares for what they're about to sell.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to people is, whatever product or service that you're looking to put out in the world, go and test out if anyone actually wants it before you go and put in all of your money, all of your ideas, and spend. Some people build up this idea in their head for years and years and years, and they don't even know if anyone cares about it. So go and build it as cheaply and as quickly as you can, and go and test it. If no one cares about it, great, you failed forward. You realize you're selling the wrong product. You get customer feedback. You either go, did it work? Do we need to pivot? If it doesn't, if it works in some sort of sense, then you pivot. If it's a horrible product, then you leave it, you do something else. If they love it, then great, you expand. So actually what I would say to people is, before you go all in and you think you need X amount of money and you need this big marketing budget and go out and ask if anyone actually cares for what you're about to sell.
Yeah, just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean it's good business.
Exactly. Yeah. But your personal passions doesn't mean that there's a niche in the market for it.
With that mic drop, we'll wrap that up there for today. So thanks for coming on, Steph.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, and can't wait to get this live.